Hey there, thank you for joining me for this confirmation class. It's truly kind of a confirmation class and new membership class and baptism class all rolled into one. And I'm really grateful that you started to join me for all of this. In this first video, we're just going to do a brief overview. And so we're going to do an overview of how the class is structured, what the different lessons are going to cover, and then we'll do an overview of how kind of the videos are going to cover each of the lessons. So each lesson will have two parts to it. There will be one part that goes over different vows that you take as part of the church. It goes over the baptism vows and the membership vows, just because I want to make sure that you know, if you're watching this, going to be going through baptism or confirmation or membership, that you know what it is that you're doing. I want you to know what you're committing to. And so we'll look at each of those vows to gain a better understanding of what that is. That's part one. For each of the videos, they'll each cover a different topic. Part two of each video will cover a different spiritual discipline. And we'll be looking at 2 disciplines per video. And the list of disciplines that I'm taking, and a lot of the stuff about the disciplines, comes from Richard Foster's book, Celebration of Discipline. It's a wonderful book if you want to know different practices for the Christian life. That's the book that you need to be looking at. That's the book that we will look at as we journey together. So I would encourage you, if you can, it's not like I'm sponsored or anything, but I would really encourage you to go ahead and buy a copy of this book, because it is a wonderful book. It's got a lot of practical advice. It's really dives in and helps you understand why to even bother with the disciplines. I'd really encourage you to look at it. So we'll cover a couple of those in each video, and each lesson will be 2 videos. So in part 1 of each lesson, that will be the video covering the different vows, and then part 2 of each lesson will be the video covering the 2 different spiritual disciplines. The different vows that you take, there's a vow that you reject evil. There's a vow that you accept good. You are going to work after the good. There's a vow where you confess Jesus as your Savior. And then you make a commitment that you believe the Apostles' Creed, which is a statement about God that has been accepted and has been part of the church for centuries. And this thing dates back to the early beginnings of the Christian church. And so we'll walk through each of those vows, kind of what's meant by them, going through a little bit more with each vow. And they're going to build off of each other. You'll see they kind of build and grow from each other. And so that's going to be what we're looking at as we go through each part 1 of each lesson. With the spiritual disciplines, are just the basic practices that we take to help us continue to grow closer to God. They're practices that make us better people. They make us more the people we think we should be. They make us more like God. And so some of them are very obvious, things like study. You need to read the Bible. Things like prayers, staying in communication with God. Things like corporate worship, going to church on Sundays. Those are really easy, well understood, well known disciplines. And then there are going to be others that we need to look at a little bit more. Disciplines like fasting, or like silence or solitude. Disciplines like submission and service, and disciplines like celebration. And at the root of all of the disciplines, Richard Foster notes, is freedom. All of the disciplines give us freedom. We become free to be who God made us to be. We become free to experience God to the fullest. And As we look through each discipline, we will see some of what that discipline is. We will see some of what that discipline isn't, some things to try to avoid. We'll get some practical tips on how to practice them. And I would encourage you, after you've watched the video, heard about the different disciplines, try to think of how you can try one of them out. Another thing that Richard Foster is very firm on is that we're all just practicing, not just in that we are doing the disciplines, but we're really just giving attempts, hoping to get better. And for the spiritual disciplines, that's very true. You're not going to jump in and be perfect at any of the disciplines. It'll take time. They're not going to come easy. In fact, they might prove to be a lot more challenging than they should be. But that's just because we aren't where we should be with them yet. And seeing that we've not gotten a discipline down all the way just shows that there's room for us to improve and there's room for us to grow, and we should embrace that. We shouldn't get upset at ourselves for not doing it right the first time. We should say, okay, that didn't work for me. Maybe there's something I need to fix with how I'm doing the discipline. Maybe I need to lower my bar this first time and say, you know what, I'm not going to get there right now, so why don't I try to get somewhere a little less? But that's the road ahead, and I'm looking forward to being able to walk this road with you. So please join me the next few videos. We're going to be looking at starting out on this journey, looking at those vows, starting to look at a few spiritual disciplines. So look forward to taking this journey with you. Thank you for joining me.